Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's 5-minute mobility session. I'm Michael Gray with Michael Gray Fitness, and let's dive right in. Okay, first thing we're going to do for this week's mobility session is we're going to have a seat in your chair, and we're going to be looking at mobilizing the tricep, the lat here, even down to our side a little bit, and maybe some in our hip. So we're going to be staying up nice and tall. Okay, I want one hand grabbing on the chair, bottom of your chair here. If you don't have the bottom of your chair to grab onto, if it's thick or something, that's okay. You can put your hand here on your stomach, all right? Other hand's gonna go straight up in the air. Feet are planted firmly on the ground. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach over to one side. Now as I do this, I'm gonna be tempted to lift this cheek off my chair. I want your cheeks both firmly planted on the chair, okay? We're not gonna lift the hips up or anything. So as we do this, we're reaching up and out in this direction. Only, over, kind of hunched over here, leaning over. Nice tall chest, flat back, big reach over until you feel some real good mobilization all through here, some good stretch, going right over the top of your head, and then come back down. So we're reaching, keeping that cheek down, and back down. Really stretching out as far as you can go. Should feel some great mobilization all through here, okay? Once we've done all the reps, we're gonna switch to the other side, and same thing on the other side. I want you to do 8 per side here, so you can go ahead and pause this video and do those now. Next thing we'll be doing is a good stretch for this big lat muscle here. Okay, we're gonna do one arm at a time. So both hands on the back of your chair. Okay, we're gonna step back a little bit. Now I'm gonna start by stretching my left side, which means my left leg is going to go back. So I'm in this kind of staggered stance here. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate slightly towards this arm, and then I'm going to sit back and come down. And as I do that, I've got this big lat muscle here that's stretching. I'm getting some good stretch in my low back too, okay? So I'm leaning into that, getting some good mobilization, and then come back out. Really sit into it, real good stretch, and back out. Okay, I want you to get 8 per side on this. When you switch, make sure you switch your legs too, because this puts the hips in a little bit different position, kind of a more advantageous position to stretch these muscles. So make sure you switch that leg. So if I'm stretching, mobilizing my left side, my left leg's back. If I'm doing my right side, my right leg is back. Okay, 8 per side on these. You can go ahead and pause and do that now. Our next mobilization, we're going to be working on the hip flexors here and a little bit of the groin and hamstring on the opposite leg. So I want one foot up on your chair. Make sure we're up nice and tall, okay? I'm going to have you have this foot back just a little bit. Make sure that foot stays firmly planted on the ground. Keep the heel on the ground on these, okay? So up nice and tall. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lean into this. Now as I'm doing this, notice I'm not leaning through or arching through my low back. You want to think moving through the hips here, okay? So my hips are shifting forward. I've got some good mobilization stretch here, okay? And then I'm right back out. So I rock into this, and I come right back out. Those some real good stretch. Now, if you need maybe a little bit more intense stretch, you could put your foot a little bit further back, okay? And that's going to kind of get a little more intense here, a little bit more on this opposite leg here on the inner thigh. You can do that as well if you feel like you need a little bit better stretch, all right? Go ahead and pause and do those. We're going to do 8 for each leg. Our fourth movement is maybe familiar to some of you. This is sort of a common stretch here. It's called the figure 4. So we're going to have one leg crossed over. Okay, I'm sitting up nice and tall. Put my hands together in kind of this prayer position. And with the way my legs are, I've kind of got this little triangle here. My hands are going to go down through that triangle, and just like I'm diving in. Okay, so I'm going to come down as far as I can. As I begin to dive down, I'm feeling some real good stretch through this glute, this outer thigh, kind of all in this hip musculature here. So keeping my chest nice and tall. We're sinking down as far as you feel like you can. If you can't go far, don't worry at all. Just do what you can. Make sure that chest stays up and open and back stays flat. It's easy to get hunched over with these, okay? So we're just go into where we feel like we can, and then right back out. Just dive in and dive out. This is one of my favorites. This feels so good. Okay, again, we'll get 8 per leg on these. Go ahead and pause and do that now. And then for our final movement this week, If you remember, we've done that hip extension here, right? Last week we're going to be working the cheek here, okay? Same thing, we're just going to work the upper outer portion of the cheek. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stand sideways. Still hold on to my chair. I'm up nice and tall, my back is flat. I'm going to start with my outside leg, those toes are pointed in. This is the leg we're working, okay? Those toes are pointed in just a touch, all right? So maintaining good tall posture, I'm going to bring that leg out to the side and squeeze that upper outer cheek right here, okay? And then I'm coming back down. So I'm just doing this straight out to the side, squeezing that cheek, keep those toes pointed in. As you do these, make sure you aren't leaning away, okay? It's really easy to kind of tilt over. Keep that torso up nice and tall, okay? And keep all of that movement right here in that cheek and that hip. And we'll do 10 of these per leg, okay? So that's this week's mobility session. I hope you enjoy it. We got some good movements here, really getting the blood flowing. Going to help you be a little more alert, a little more productive, get you into some ranges of motion that you're probably not spending a lot of time in, which just feels good. Okay, I hope you enjoy it and stay healthy.